Welcome back, O-doers. Small businesses such as Furniture Flix face a regular problem, managing expenses as the company grows. Moreover, we struggle with data accuracy and providing our staff with correct and up-to-date expense reports. These problems come from a reimbursement and expense policy. Doing everything on paper makes it difficult for everyone to fill in expense forms, delaying reports and frustrating employees waiting for reimbursement. To make it easier, Furniture Flix want to incorporate an expense management software. It will help us track spending and reimburse our employees promptly while helping us with our expense reports. Each employee will attach copies of their receipts directly to the expense, so we won't lose them anymore. And as we integrate this app with accounting, we'll make sure that no peso goes to waste. Finally, administrators will have a comprehensive view of Furniture Flix finances and will gather insights so we can move toward a cost-effective strategy, allowing for more realistic budgets to be planned and achieved. So let's jump into Furniture Flix database and see how this works. Alright, here I am on my database. Let's go straight to expenses. We're gonna go to configuration, settings. From the settings page, we want to be sure that we have the incoming emails option activated, which will actually allow our employees to submit expenses by sending an email to the alias that we have set up. Alright, but since I already have this activated, let's go to the configuration and expense categories. Here's where we're gonna see a list of all our expense categories. Now, we can create a new expense category directly from here, but we can also create an expense category from anywhere where you can create a product. You just need to be sure you have the option Can Be Expensed checked. But let's look at a category that we already have set up. So it is just a regular product, even though in the expenses app, you're gonna see fewer fields. That's alright, let's go ahead. Okay, so we have the product name. Then we have some general information. We also have the cost. Now the cost isn't necessarily the most important field to populate because it does depend on the expense. So for example, if I take a customer for lunch on Tuesday, it could be more or less expensive than a lunch I had with another customer on Wednesday. But of course, it's up to the employee to correctly add the cost of that expense. Alright, then we have our unit of measure. And below that, we're gonna have our internal reference, which is very important if you would like your employees to submit expenses by email. Alright, you will need to add an internal reference, and as you can see here, your employees will need to use this reference as a subject prefix when submitting by email and expense by email. This will allow the system to recognize what expense products should be used. Alright, then we have the product category. And if you are in a multi-company environment, you can select the company. Then we also have our invoicing section where we have our re-invoice expenses. Okay, so we have a choice, no, at cost, or sales price. Then we also have an accounting section as well. We can add an expense account per product. We can also add vendor taxes and customer taxes. Alright, then we're going to go to our expenses dashboard. So I'm going to click on my expenses. Alright, now these are all my expenses, including those that I need to report. Let's go ahead now and create a few new expenses because I actually recently took a trip to Palawan where I met with a potential designer for Furniture Flix furniture. I'm gonna go ahead and create those expenses now. So I have my, let's say, travel fee flight. Okay. And then I'm gonna add the product. Alright, I will change the price. Alright, then we have the quantity. We can add taxes if you would like to. Now, I just have the regular total, but let's say it was 3,470 and there was a 12% tax. Of course, it will affect the total. Also, we have our account, so it's just my expense account. And also, we can re-invoice some of our customers. So for example, if I want to add this to one of my customers' sales orders, I can do that here. Okay, so I can select the sales order, which is really convenient. Then again, if we're in a multi-company environment, we have the company. Alright, we have the employee, and we can say who paid for this expense. So if it was already the company or if it was the employee who we need to reimburse. But I did pay for it from my own pocket, so let's go ahead and select employee. And then we're gonna save and we're gonna create a new expense. So this one will be lunch in Palawan. And I'm gonna just say that this is a general expense. Okay, and I'm gonna save this. And I'm gonna create even a third expense, Palawan taxi. Let's say that this is just a general expense again, and I'll say it was 500 pesos. Okay, then we're gonna save this now. Now, of course, we need to create a report that will be submitted to the manager, who will be able to approve it and ultimately pay us back or reimburse us and something else. I want to point out before we actually create the report is that for all of our expenses, we can attach documents. So this is where we can attach receipts. We can attach invoices if we need to add any additional documents that should be added to the expense. Alright, but now let's create the report. So I'm not just going to create a report for this individual expense. I'm actually going to group all of the expenses from this trip together. So I'm gonna say Palawan trip 2024. Okay, and I'm going to add the expenses so that I can just be reimbursed and go. Alright, let's add our lunch in Palawan and also travel fee. So I can select multiple, which is really cool. Okay, so all of our expenses have been added here. It doesn't just add some convenience for the employee who can be reimbursed for everything right away, but it's also convenient for the manager so they can approve multiple expenses at once. So let's save this. Okay, we have the total amount here, and then we're going to submit this to the manager. Okay, so since I am the manager, I already see an approve button. But if I was submitting or if I was approving an expense as a manager for someone else, I would simply go to the expense reports. And I would have a list of all the expenses, including those that I need to approve. So, I have that Palawan trip 2024. Alright, here you're gonna notice the status. So, it wasn't draft now, it's submitted. And once I click on the approve button as the manager, we're gonna see that it has been approved. And again, as a manager, I can post the journal entries as well. And once the journal entries have been posted, we can go ahead and reimburse our employee. So I can register the payment. Okay, so I can choose the payment method. And then I can validate this, and it goes from posted to in payment just like that. Alright, now, what's really cool about the Expenses app is not just the fact that we can submit expenses and it's super easy for the employee and also for the manager to approve these expense reports. But I have a nice reporting section as well, so I can keep track of how much everyone is spending because that's also important. So if we go to reporting, expense analysis, we're going to have an overview of what everyone has been spending. Let's go ahead and look at the pie chart. So here I actually noticed that I personally am the only one who has been spending money since Furniture Flix is just newly established. I've been creating a lot of expenses, so probably someone's gonna check out exactly what I've been doing to be sure that it's all professional, right? But I can look at this for all my employees. If there's someone who I don't necessarily want to see in this report, I can always remove them by clicking on the name. I can do that as well if I don't necessarily want to see a particular period in this report. So this is just a really nice reporting section to take advantage of. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.